Alright, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 360 Stacks in this thing, baby, representing TKOG. And today I'm going to be coming at you guys for the first time on this channel with my Sprite deck profiles. So, I actually right now am more of a fan of Sprite than I am of Tears. Tears is way more of my alley, and when I first heard of those cards, I was super happy. And I really wanted to play Tier, but right now, I'm just not really that interested. I mean, there's a myriad of reasons, but I kind of just want to wait and see, and then I'll decide if I actually want to play Tier. But the thing with Sprite that I really do like is that there's not as much hate for it, and because Tier's like arguably the best deck, Sprite like inherently I think just becomes better simply because there's not a lot of like side deck preparation and hate towards Sprite. Tier, it just has like such a huge target on its back that a lot of these, and also a lot of these Sprite builds just haven't really been looking that crazy, and the performance has kind of just not been the same. It's crazy how losing one Ronin Totem really made that big of a deal. But we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but first and foremost, if you haven't done so already, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. If you have subscribed, click the notification bell and make sure you don't miss a single upload, and check the description box of every one of my videos. I copy paste the links to my Discord and also to my Patreon. So if you guys want to support the channel in more than one way, besides like liking and leaving a comment, you can always do that. It's an option. So yeah, this is my list. I had a lot of variants. Like I messed around with the Brave stuff, a more hand trap focused build that had like 18 plus hand traps, and I wanted to find a sweet spot of balance of having enough cards that help me, but also what I wanted to do was just apply the same mentality that I have in a lot of my builds. Is I wanted my cards to be multifunctional and multi-purpose, being that they can solve problems while also just being an extender or starter at the same time. So I wanted like a card to literally be a starter or an extender and also be able to trade going second. And that's asking for a lot of the cards, so you guys might wonder, how the heck did you accomplish that? So I'm actually going to break it down for you. You can see the list here, but I'm going to break down exactly what I'm talking about. My style of building decks is like this. So if you guys didn't know this about me, this is exactly how I get down. So, and something else I thought about was terraforming a Mystic Mine just because I'm playing the light stages, but you guys are about to see what I mean about multi-purpose. I've shown this already. I've shown you guys examples, but this is going to go on a deeper level because my Sprite list is like the embodiment of multi-purpose, and that's what I really wanted out of this deck. It has so much utility and flex spots, and while the engine is not the strongest, I really don't think it's that strong. I think it's consistent, it's clear, it's so clear how to play this deck, and the objective is pretty much almost always going to be the same most of the time, and it's not so difficult to pilot that it's so punishing if you haven't like mastered it to a T. But what I really wanted was for my deck to just be insane going second, while also still being really powerful going first. So, I mean, you have all the Blight cards here, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to go a little bit more in depth on what I mean about multi-purpose, because I really don't even see other content creators approaching their deck building like this. I mean, I've seen some that have like problem-solving cards, but the idea is you don't want to play a problem-solving card that's only there to function as a card that solves that problem. Like example, Ghost Bell. Some people choose it over DD Crow because they feel it's like a Crow that also protects you from Crow. That's great, but when you think about it, that's just one function. So I wanted to get maximum mileage and value out of my cards. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with talents, right? We all know talents can do many different things. Going first, it can be like a pseudo starter simply because you can draw off of it. And that's where this took the place of prosperity over prosperity for me. Because also going second, talents is just cracked. Like whether you're playing hand traps or not, it doesn't really matter. Talents is always going to be a good card in my eyes. There's nothing people can really say that can change my mind about how broken and powerful this card is. Going first, it gives me information or knowledge. It can solve problems literally by taking the problem out of my opponent's hand. It allows me to just kind of turn it into a starter if I need to just see more combo pieces. And also at the same time, it's a card that inherently is really hard to play around, because if your opponent is not playing into the territory of talents, and this is where I need you guys to understand, because people will always say this and it doesn't make sense to me, because you have to understand, if my opponent is playing around talents, that means that I am able to combo. And my deck's full combo has a way to counterplay Dark Ruler and Droplets, and also even Super Poly to a large margin. So my list, if you guys, there's so much good nuggets in this list. So you guys might think, oh well, if your opponent's not on hand traps, they're on board breakers. Well, my list naturally is designed to make a board that counterplays board breakers, and I'm also playing a card that counterplays hand traps. And a lot of my cards actually counterplay hand traps. So they not only counterplay hand traps, but they enable me to make a board that's really hard to disable with board breakers. And you already naturally have outs to cards like Mystic Mind with your engine. So there's like a lot of utility in that regard. In that aspect, with Sprite and the approach to building it is what made it look more appealing than Tiers. For those reasons and more, and it inherently doesn't lose to the same cards as Tier. It has a totally different playstyle. So Talent is just one of many examples, but we're actually going to go deeper. But Talent's also opened up the precedent to talk about hand traps and playing into the territory of it. Because if they respect it, then I'm fine. That means I can just play Solitaire. And I know that if I play Solitaire, their board breakers are not going to really be able to beat Escatos, because I can lock them out of virtually almost any type in the game. And then also, if they are playing into talents, then it's just insane. And going second, it's the same thing. Like if I'm playing against Sprite and they actually have the Toad board, and like they play into talents by like negating. Now when I activate talents and their Toad has negated, if I don't control monster, my talent's just insane now. It's such free real estate. So the card's just absolutely disgusting for so many different reasons. Nemesis Flag and Escatos. This is another package that is not only inherently good going first, because I can counterplay so many different archetypes. Being I have like Thunder, I have Dragon, which is really good right now against Bystead cards. I have Pyro, I have Aqua. I mean, I have Fairies. I mean, dude, there's like I have almost any type that matters. I think the only thing I don't have, which is totally fine, is Winged Beast and Warriors, I believe. And no, I have Spellcasters as well, but I'm not really too worried about that. The main thing is like Tier being such a big threat, you always want to have Aqua access. So this card is kind of crazy because it searches Escatos, which is like Protoss except for monster types. And what's really cool about this is just naturally because it's a dragon, you already have such a good dragon matchup for this reason and so many different others. And also with so many good Cyberse decks being out, this card is just such a huge blowout because you could just make Cyberses in the middle of your combo and just Escatos to Cyberse, and your opponent literally just cannot play. In the mirror match, it's almost like an FTK dang near. They literally just cannot play. I mean, I can list so many different ways that Escatos is not only a going first card, but a going second card, because he just destroys all of those cards. So if you're playing and you're just playing through interruption, and after interruption you drop this, this is a situation where you have played through the disruptions and broken the board, and not only broke the board, but locked your opponent out from using their follow-up. So this engine to me is one of the best engines you can play in Sprite. I think it's a little bit better when Ronin Totem was around, because this was like more of an extender, but I do see a lot of value in this, being it's a going first card that enables me to counterplay board breakers to an extremely large margin, while also being a going second card because it just allows me to just Raigeki my opponent. So again, multi-purpose, right? It functions as a starter and also a going second card at the same time, even an extender at times, which is really good. So this is what I need you guys to understand about me, Stacks, as a player. You know, I'm just not, I don't, like a lot of players are just so different, and that's the beauty of this game. There's so many different ways to build and play, and that's where you just get like all of this creativity and like the room for it. And I'm just one of those players where I just truly believe that every card in my deck has to have the most value that I can get out of it. I'm not just going to play a card for one reason. If there's only one reason, then I feel like it's not good enough. This is me. I'm not everybody. Not everybody thinks this way. But these are the other cards. Like, I do believe in Gamma inside of my Sprite deck, because I believe that Gamma is one of the best hand traps in the entire game. If I had to choose one hand trap, it would be either Gamma or Nib most of the time. It's high impact. It trades extremely well, and it enables me to play E-Tellies. So this is another thing that's going to get into the part of not only being going first and going second cards, but some of these inherently allow me to extend. Like Talent, even at times Flag can be an extender. Even Escatos can be an extender. Well, E-Telly with Gamma, now I can play E-Telly and I have an extender. And extenders in this deck are so valuable because a lot of the times when people are playing against Sprites, they understand that one of the easiest ways to counterplay your engine is to prevent you from keeping a level 2 on field. So I solved that problem big time. I mean, this list can probably play through more spot removal than any Sprite list I've ever seen. That's including even if you have like the runic cards and then like a starter, right? Like you have E-Telly and you also have Light Stage. Like where Gamma functions as being a hand trap and also allowing you to play E-Telly, Light Stage is even crazier at times because this also functions as an extender going first, which allows you to just pretty much, it can be a pseudo starter, but also going second just being a blowout sometimes. Like this is a crazy card. Like this is an amazing going second card. And I play double Lilybell with this. It's so good, you guys. It's crazy. It also kind of sort of gives you a somewhat another kind of alternate win condition in time, which is just really, really clutch. So there's like so many different functionalities even with this card. And this deck inherently is not that good against backrow decks. So having an extender that allows you to trade in those matchups, and even combo decks are typically setting, I think is just so valuable. And it allows you to, again, inherently play through the spot removals like that. Your opponent, you know they're going to be on, bro. You know that they're going to try and keep you from getting a level 2 on field. Is this the easiest way to lock this deck out from playing? It really is. And these right here are like the meat. These are the bread and butter. These are the embodiment of multi-purpose. A lot of the rest of this is pretty much standard Sprite stuff. I mean, the starters and the Splight names. My ratios, I like 2 red. I sometimes even opt to play 3, but in this, I decided 2 is necessary. I never don't play Pixies. It baffled me when this deck first came out and people were not playing Pixies. It was just ridiculous. I was like, bro, I don't even have to play Goddess if I don't want to. But I like the idea of playing this and Goddess because you have 2 different ways to be able to counterplay Towers-esque cards, which can be a problem for a lot of decks. But just having that for when it does come up, and if it does come up, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Because when you need it and don't have it, you lose. But when you have it and don't need it, you're still going to win. It's okay. Starters, just starters. So like right here, what you're seeing is I have 6 additional ways to extend without a normal summon. On top of starter, these could have easily been like this entire, like this right here, this 3, this 10, these 18 cards right here could easily be anything, you guys. This could be your runic package. This could be your brave engine. You could play brave cards. You could play more hand traps. You can just play more of anything you want. You can play nimble angler stuff and runic cards. This is my approach. This is just what I'm doing right now. I like Runic Sprite a lot. I really do. But I also just really like the list that I'm playing right now. It just does so much justice. And Runic kind of has its own toolbox, you know? Runic somewhat counterplays board breakers, and you know it somewhat gives you utility. Being that it gives you like a level 2 to extend with, which is always valuable, is great. And also giving you like a toolbox for going second, which is like so good. You know, a lot of its cards are a lot better going second. I'm not knocking that. This is just a different approach, something I wanted to test. I pretty much wanted to test like something that I didn't see already and just see if it could work, because I have a lot of ideas, but a lot of it's just theory, and until it's proven, it's always and forever going to be theory. But this is definitely a craft that I've tested, and it works extremely well. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this is like literally one of the best Sprite lists I've ever played, and to this day, I just can't change it because it's so good. Even when Light Stage was at 2, I was just like, this is too valuable. Like, it's just way too good, you guys. Honestly, Light Stage is kind of one of the best cards in the game. Starter is starter, and I've always been a fan of double smashers. I used to play 3, but I took some cards out like to make space for other cards that I started moving and incorporating as the meta shifted. But I've always been an avid fan of smashers at more than just 1. I think the card's just way too good, you guys. Honestly, something else that's kind of crazy about this is gas in Spriggans and also Therions. It's this card, high key, out of its own archetype, is a little bit more busted sometimes, but love the card. It counterplays the biggest problem so that you don't have to main an Optimistic Mind. You have 2, you know, which is great. That's why I really like playing multiple, so that if you're in that situation and you need it, you just have it, you know. The frogs I'm still playing because my list plays a lot of extenders, so it's a lot easier to set up the Toad board. Whereas before, like with Ronin gone, like you always need the extra body, and it's a lot easier in my list to get the extra body now than it was before. So I feel like this is still worth playing. If I was playing a more like runic focused build, it feels like sometimes you just can't really get it that often. But my list consistently pulls the combo off, and I really like dupe. I don't care that Super Probably exists. I feel that dupe counterplays more blowouts than it's like the validation and the value for playing dupe is justifiable because there's more cards that dupe counterplays then there are super polys that exist. There's only 3 super polys, but then you think about all these different cards, Shatrilas, cards like Alpha, just big monsters in general, Gizmex, like, dupe just makes your board just way too hard to break. Like, your opponent can't just freely just go to battle phase, now, and just kill your stuff because your stuff is normally inherently small. Dupe is just insane, and if they have the super poly, they have it. I really don't care because they're gonna super poly me whether I summon dupe or not. They were just gonna hit my reds, my red plus my my elf. And in regards to that, a lot of the times, because I'm able to play through disruption so well, most of the time if I feel like I can do it and I have a talent, I'm just gonna summon the carrot because I feel like if I get hand trapped on gigantic, it's gonna hurt only to the degree of what the value of my hand currently is. So if my hand's really good, then I summon carrot because I know the biggest threat against this guy is actually Imperm because most of the time we do go for red. So this is another thing that I kind of just I'm always cognizant of that when I'm playing Sprite. Is I don't undervalue carrot ever, and most of the time if I'm allowed to combo, I just end on carrot instead of red because also carrot helps me to not lose as hard to talents and Mystic Mine and Runic cards, and just carrot is just so much more valuable to me in the terms of your inboard than red is. Red is more to protect you, but my list is just so good already inherently at playing through disruptions that a lot of the times I do just feel like carrot is just a better choice. That's just me. I'm not gonna say that's just the viable choice, everybody should just end on carrot, but I really end on carrot a lot more than I end on red because I just think of the cards that really, really hurt, and most of the time they're not monsters because my board is already normally just super strong against monster effects in general. I just feel like carrot is just that extra insurance. Carrot and Toad is bro, there's just no freaking way. There's no way, it's perfect because when I set up carrot, I think of, I Toad negate and my opponent has no monsters and they activate something powerful like talents or mine or something crazy where you can't get your Toad back because they just played around the elf Toad combo where you elf and then chain Toad, and you might miss that one little add back, but overall your next negate is gonna be so much more impactful. So I just I look at carrot and I'm like, bro, this is like a baby Toad. This card just really high key. I used to be on 3 and 2, but I was doing too much because I wanted more utility and less of duplicates. It's a little bit redundant sometimes, but you would be surprised how much more those cards will come up for me personally, the type of player I am. Toads, the frog patches, still worth playing. And then the only other hand traps I play are Nib and Imperm. Imperm, I just felt the way I feel about the hand traps I play is because I chose not to play a lot of hand traps like some other sprite lists can play a lot. I felt like I have to play the hand traps that are so good that I'm okay with only having one of them. So in my opinion, I'm okay with just having a Gamma, a Nib, or an Imperm over one of any other hand trap in the game, whether it's Crow, Bell, Ash, Ogre, Valor, you name it, Ghost Mourner, shoot, it could be any other hand trap. I'm more comfortable with any one of these, than I am with any other hand traps. But these, in combination with any of them, are just crazy. Gamma plus Nib is broke. Gamma plus Imperm's broke. Imperm plus Gamma is broke. Imperm plus Nib is broke. If I draw any combination of my hand traps, I can end any combo player's turn. So my approach with my going second cards was also that. I felt like the ratios are there, but I also don't want to just draw multiple low impacts and pray that the game state is just simplified enough for me to just solitaire my way into victory. Nah, bro. Because I'm also cognizant that my opponent is obviously going to be on hand traps. So I just felt like these were the best because of the space that I consolidated simply for my multi-purpose cards. I just felt like I had to play the best hand traps because I'm choosing purposely and intentionally to not play a crap ton of hand traps, which I used to do. I used to play 18 in this list. I used to even mainboard Shifter, but I'm comfortable now with just sideboarding it for when it's relevant, which it's relevant a lot, but because of the way my list is designed, I actually need my grave for the board that I set up because I just really like my board. I think my board wins me more games than Shifter can if I open it and just drop it and just in on a mediocre board because I can't really Toad, So this is my list, you guys. I'm gonna get into the extra deck, but the main deck is where it's at. I kind of go back and forth on playing 45 with Call By, but there's just times where I'm just I don't know, bro. I know it sounds crazy, but I do sometimes put it in and take it back out. 3 Elf, I'm always just going to play 3 no matter what. Sprint is like a great addition to this deck. Honestly, card's kind of crazy, you guys. It enables so much more degeneracy, honestly. I love this with like Ibli combos too. I do sideboard into other stuff like for my inboards because it changes up for matchups. And then I got Double Gigantic, Toad, Jin Buster, Phoenix, just crazy with you guys. Like Phoenix in this deck and Sweeper comes up too. I just like this card a lot. Like my deck is designed to be able to break boards better going second, which is something Sprite naturally is not very good at. And I just wanted to, mitigate my weaknesses like I normally always say in my videos. If you know your deck has a weakness and you don't prepare for it, and you just put something in your sideboard to like solve that problem, you're inherently going to be losing more game ones than you should, and you're also doing yourself a disservice because you didn't fix a problem that you saw, that you knew was there, and you just chose to either be greedy or you just chose to literally play more going second cards just because you were just like, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players are more fixated on preventing their opponent from playing than they are worried about their own ability to play, and that stifles me a lot. It just feels like I don't understand, a lot of mindsets, but I know in regards to me and the way I play, I typically value my ability to play more than my ability to stop my opponent from playing. And with this deck, it's the perfect sweet spot with this build because a lot of the cards that allow me to play also can prevent my opponent from playing. So it does both of the things that you normally can't get that out of a card. Most of the time, you can't get both. Like if you just go first and you solitaire, your opponent's not playing, right? So it's like you can look at it that way, but when you think of it, it's like the cards that help you most of the time can't do anything to your opponent. But with my list, it's different, and I like that a lot. And then we have IP Dark, Unicorn, we have Access Code, and then we also have Goddess. Access Code mainly is just because like I just need something big, and it's really problematic climbing into Boral Sword a lot of times. So sometimes I just need like Access Code to just like make something big real quick. The thing that like makes me want to play different stuff is because a lot of the times when I summon Access Code, I'm not really like trying to clear an entire field, and most of the time it just feels like it's 2 pops, and then I'm like, okay, I have a 53, I'm going for game, but it's just I really want like a Boral Sword, but it's not as easy to make, and because Access Code is easier to make and it comes up more, that's why I play it, but I really would rather play Boral Sword in this deck, high key. And then Goddess. Even though I'm playing Pixies, I am still playing Goddess. I feel like both are valuable in their own way. I really like Goddess too. Like going second, card's nice. But yeah, you guys, that is my list. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think and how you feel. I'm always open, to hear other people's thoughts. But I do need and want you guys to understand that this list is designed this specific way for a plethora of good reasons. So it's not something that I'm open to change. I have just different Sprite lists if I want to play different builds, This build specifically is not really going to change. This build is like the most successful Sprite list for me personally. So I definitely recommend you guys try it and just adopt or kind of like get a similar approach. I wouldn't say literally adopt my mindset with deck building, but you should definitely have a similar approach for decks like this because they have the actual room to do what you need them to do for that. Some decks just require you to play so much engine that you just cannot put a lot of problem solving or multi-purpose cards in, but because this deck has the flexibility to do so because it has so much compact in its engine, this is something that you really can explore a lot of more avenues and different routes than you can in other decks. Like this and Tier are just so flexible, in regards to how you can build them and what you can put in and take out. So this is something that I definitely recommend you try, or just try something different, Sprite, I think there's just a lot more that it can do than it's just not been exploited yet or hasn't been explored. So we definitely want to see more, crazy stuff that this deck can do. But thank you guys so much again. Deuces as well, baby.